There was no coverage of our rap heroes. If they would just give us 5 seconds, we were waiting. I was waiting.
Somebody had to start it. It's like Moses and the apostles. It's biblical for us.
Video music box, Ralph McDaniels, that's the only thing we had.
It's a big boom box and it shows videos. It was really a video mixtape in the beginning.
Shit, I'm on video music box. I want to give a shout out. Oh!
Everybody thought hip-hop was just going to be a phase. No, Ralph carried it on his back like Santa.
Seeing people that look like you, unapologetically hip-hop, unapologetically black, it empowered a whole culture.
Even the darkest times of hip-hop, he brought that bright light.
I'm your VJ, Ralph McDaniels, on Video Music Box. If you're ready, let's get busy.
Welcome everybody to Behind the Records. I'm your host, Rob Love, and I'm here each and every Thursday. You know how I do. On this day in hip-hop back in '98, the Locks dropped this record. On this day, this is hip-hop history, baby, so you gotta make sure you tap in and tune in and tell a friend. We sending healing tones to anybody out there that's suffering from 19, anybody out there that's suffering from any other disease or ailment or sickness. We sending you healing energy. Yes, indeed. This is how we do on Behind the Records. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ralph McDaniels, our favorite uncle. Woo!
Salute.
He went from intern to influencer. He went from the creator, the VJ, the DJ, the entrepreneur, the visionary, the one and only Mr. Ralph McDaniels. Welcome to Behind the Records, sir. How are you?
Thank you for having me, bro. We feeling good. You know, it's the time of the year. This is the beginning of the year. You know, we scorched them with the documentary at the end of the year, and we picking up the pace, and we keep running with the ball. We're not dropping.
Man. Oh man, we're gonna get into that documentary, man, which I'm just so thrilled and proud to, you know, I watch it over and over and over again, and each time I watch it, I see something different in it. And it was capturing those moments when people were just, the fanaticism was so high for people that look like us, music that sound like the music that we can relate to, and then to have a lens on us so we can see ourselves was just truly amazing. I gotta get a few things out the way before we get started, Uncle Ralph. Happy Founders Day to all the Delta Sigma Thetas that are out there. Happy birthday to Be Legit, and happy from the Bay Area, and happy belated birthday to the one and only Raekwon the Chef and Just Blaze. Happy birthday, gentlemen. So Video Music Box. So you started as an intern at WNYC, right?
Yeah.
What made you say this is what I want to intern? Like this is was it a posting on the billboard in the community area to say, hey, we're looking for interns, or did you say you guys don't have anyone, but I want to come and learn from you guys? Did you volunteer your internship, or was it a posted position?
No, it was I was in college. I was at LaGuardia Community College, and they said that this is the last internship. Like, you have to take 3 internships,
right?
And that was the last one. And I was like, all right, I'll take this one. And I was just doing it just to fulfill whatever I needed to fulfill to get the credits. And then when I got there, I was like, okay. And this was like a real low power TV station, and it said public broadcasting on it. But I didn't see no black people there. And I was like, wait a minute, we part of the public. How come, we don't have no shows on here? And they looked at me like, oh, this guy's a troublemaker, and he's coming in here starting trouble, and that was the beginning of me trying to get Video Music Box on TV.
So you developed your own diversity and inclusion program.
Absolutely.
That there was a lack of black faces and lack of people of color that were in those positions at that station, right? So it's just, how can you not be from the village, not be a villager, but yet you want to dictate what we see, how we express, and how we enjoy ourselves.
And I didn't just do it for black people. I did it for whoever wanted to like it, because I just knew that. See, I was a DJ like for years in the parks. Like people talk about, oh, we used to plug into the lamppost. I was doing all of that back.
I remember that.
And it wasn't about black or white. It was about the music. You enjoyed it or you didn't. And we used to go to clubs and hear different types of music and all kinds of stuff. This is pre-hip hop. Like, people don't understand, like, there was no hip hop then. It was just music, and there was break beats, and there was records like Love Is the Message, and and all these different kinds of I don't know, dance records. And so what we did was like say, hey, let's take some of that stuff. And even my theme song, Houdini, 5 Minutes of Funk, like, I used the instrumental of 5 Minutes of Funk because I just thought the instrumental was dope. Like the rap part was cool, but the instrumental was great too. God bless, Larry Smith, who produced that record and produced a whole bunch of other records for Run DMC. We working in the building, Queens all day. And so
Steve Lobel, what up? Thank you for tapping in.
Sir. Yeah, and so we just took, that vibe and just brought it to TV. Whatever I was at, if it was in Brooklyn, if it was in Queens, if it was uptown, we just took that vibe and let's bring that to TV. What does that look like? And that's what Video Music was. Yeah.
Wow. So let me go backwards a little bit, right? Because we know who you are, we know what you've done, right? But what were the active ingredients for young Ralph McDaniels? Like, what was your hobby? You know what I'm saying? Did you ride skateboard? Did you make go-karts? Did you make the zip guns? Like, what was it like going? Because I'm from Brooklyn too, so was you the Skelly King? Like, what was it?
Strictly music. I was into the music. I was into, like, I was the dude who could set the equipment up, and this is like before we had like all of the professional stuff. We used to take, I come to, yo, Rob, I need to hold one of your speakers. And then I might go to Steve LaBelle and like, yo, I need one of those amps, Steve, for the jam. And I would take your amp, and trust me, I'm gonna take care of it, Rob. It's gonna be all right. I'm gonna bring it back the way I bought it, And I meant a lot for me to bring it back the way I got it from you, because I didn't want to pay for it. I didn't want to owe you. And so I went out and I hooked up equipment, and I pride myself on it sounding good. You know, the equipment sounded clear and everything sounded good. And you know, and we didn't blow out nothing, or, you know, I returned it back to you the way I got it from you, because you lent it to me. And so that's the way, that was my thing, you know. And I don't care if it was a jam with, you know, 200 people, and, you know, it's hot and it's sweaty and the amps are blowing out because it's just so hot in the jam, and you got 10 fans on top of the amps and trying to keep everything cool. And, you know, and I'm down there with a flashlight making sure everything, and DJing too. But I was really I prided myself more on it sounding good, that the presentation was good. That part was really my thing. And, you know, and every week, if I could get a little extra piece of equipment, you know, I'd be happy. Fort Greene is in the building, I see. Yeah. Queensbridge is in the building. Yeah. And all of that was what we tried to do, you know, just to create something that was cool. And that was the idea. Eventually, what all Video Music Box was taking all of that vibe and putting it on TV at 3:30, and people were like, what is this? You know, like, what's happening right now? Because remember, in the Video Music Box beginning, it wasn't hip hop, because there was only like 5 hip hop videos. There was the Fat Boys, Houdini, Run DMC, maybe Grandmaster Flash, and I don't know, somebody else. Fat Boys, did I say Fat Boys? Yeah. So yeah, so you had to come up with some other joints, you know, some other hot joints, you know, to keep that whole hour rocking. So, you know, we was playing like, you know, Talking Heads, you know, joints Let Them Downtown, you know, new wave type records, like, you know, Shout, Let It All Out, all of that, you know, that kind of vibe. Plus, you might have some Luther, you know, because Luther was always good, no matter what. You're always good with Luther. And you know, and this is before we got to the Def Jam era, or a label that puts out massive amount of hip hop music, you know. Before even, I mean, probably the only label that was like that at the time was Profile. Corey Robbins. Corey Robbins is putting out hip hop records. You know, he's putting out records every week. He got Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He got the Showboys, who they call some Queens cats. He got, you know, Run DMC. He got Special Ed. This dude is putting these, he believes in hip hop, and he's an independent dude. And that's one of the first internship I ever had, was working for Corey Robbins. And my job was to take 12-inch 45, records up to 125th Street to the Bronx, the vinyl, and take it to the record store and just give it to them, you know, so they could, those were the promo copies they could give away. And, you know, and Robbie, later on, y'all started selling those records, but me, I was giving them away.
Facts. You know what I'm saying? The promo hustle was real, you know what I mean? And that birthed the record pools, and the DJs that had the record pools were definitely you know, they would charge memberships. You didn't pay your membership, you got shorted of a couple of records. And in the surplus they had, you know what I'm saying, they looked at Japan and said, hey, need imports?
Exactly, imports, right.
$12 for a 12-inch? Yo, I can't wait till you guys are late paying your dues.
Well, and that's a whole side of the business, you know. That was just the business, you know. That was just the way it was, you know. And that's how everybody played their role, you know. Everybody had a role, and absolutely, and that was what made it so fun, you know. That was the exciting part of it, you know. I remember, you know, going to those, meeting the cat, you know, behind the building, and he'd be like, yo, here, you know, sliding you some joints you wasn't supposed to have. You're not supposed to have this right now, and then I'm rushing back to Queens so I can play it in the encore for 2,000 people on a Tuesday night, ladies' night at Encore, and be like, nobody has this, and every DJ in the spot is hot because they like, what is that? And how did he get it? You know.
But see, that was the energy that created the mixtapes. Because the mixtapes, and you even said it in the documentary that you started off Video Music Box as being a visual mixtape.
Yeah.
Which is completely visionary. You know what I'm saying? Because it didn't exist.
Yeah. We wanted it to be nonstop so that you didn't change the channel, because you could be watching cartoons, you could be watching whatever, you know, something could be on that, you know, got mad promotion behind it. You know, how do we keep them here? We got to keep it in the mix. So don't never let the record end. Don't never let the video end. Just keep it going. And that was the magic to it. People didn't know that, didn't pick up on it till later.
That's a great concept. And that concept still exists today. Because look at now, what's the single most important every radio station, every video channel, every DSP, what the single most common thread that they all have in common?
Yeah.
Everyone is fighting for your attention,
yeah.
Your looks, your likes, your shares, your follows. That's what they're looking for. Every last platform is looking for that. So when you say you wanted to keep the party going and keep people locked, you were constantly giving them something that would keep them there. Because, I mean, we all grew up with karate flicks on Saturdays. You know what I'm saying? The Shaw Brothers and all the Kung Fu flicks. We all grew up with Courageous Cat and Minute Mouse. We all grew up with, I mean, I'm probably dating myself right now, but, you know, all the cartoons that, you know, we were glued in front of the TV watching Transformers and all that.
I used to look at the ratings once I figured out how to read ratings, and I would see, like, really a lot of people watched cartoons. Like, they would watch them for real, you know, because I could look at the ratings and tell. And I would be like, and you could tell by what hour in an hour, it would tell you like, oh, at 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you know. And I would try to get that first 15 minutes and try to rock out as hard as I could in that first 15 minutes so I could keep the audience with me at least for another half an hour. And if I could do that, if I could get 45 minutes or 40 minutes out of that hour and hold them down, then I did my job. And that's what we did. And that's why, you know, every day. And the other part of Video Music Box was we never put the name of the song. And that irritated the hell out of people. But it made you keep looking and keep coming back to try to figure out what the name of the artist was and the name of the song. And people say, why don't you put the name of the song on there? And I'm like, no, that means you got to look for it. It was almost like back in the days when, you know, you went to a Kool Herc jam and Kool Herc would erase the name of the song. You couldn't see it on the record. It was like that. You had to go searching for it for real if you wanted to find out what it was. And that's what we wanted you to do with Video Music Box. Like, who is that? Who's that artist? And so you kept going and kept going to the record store, or you kept asking your friends, who's the one that makes that record, you know, throw your hands in the air. You know, you that was all a ploy to just make people be part of what we were to talk about us.
Well, I mean, that's great because we picked up on that, right, from the label side. And we used to direct our field reps to go in, and there was always, when you went to a record store, there was always someone there that was knowledgeable about all the inventory, whether it's the buyer, whether it's, you know, the owners sometimes would be there, but they would be knowledgeable too because they have to purchase the order from the distributors. So they know exactly what they got in, right? But there's always a person that's there, that's the music lover, that would say, oh, you're talking about Onyx. We got it right over there on the end cap and it's on sale. You know what I'm saying? So we would, you know, even, you know, before I even came to Def Jam, you know, I worked at, you know, I consulted most of all the labels actually. And Tommy Boy was one of the first ones, and Steve Rifkin's Loud was another one. that was early in my career before I even came to Def Jam. So we used to have this thing that was called a price and positioning campaign, where they would know what price, and they would have us go in and check and make sure that they're selling the product at a certain price, right? If it was a maxi single or cassette, we make sure that it was $5.99 or and not $10.99. You know what I'm saying? So there was a checks and balances system. So for you guys to leave out the names and the labels of the records gave us the opportunity to go and educate retail where our sweet spot, to let them know, yo, you know, and I must say sometimes, some other records might have been on sale, but because we have a relationship with that guy, but that's, say that record is good, but yo, man, did you hear this new method, man? Have you heard the new method, man? Oh, you need to have the method, man.
But that was the great part about going to the record store. We used to enjoy that whole process of going into the store and being introduced into music that wasn't necessarily marketed to us. You would hear somebody come in from Jersey and they'd be asking about a house record that you never heard of before, and then you put it on, the record is hot. You like, yo, I know I could play that in Queens and Brooklyn, but you were listening to a Jersey DJ talk about the record, or you were listening to a DJ from Brooklyn talk about a reggae record or a dancehall record that you heard him play it, and you were like, I need that right there too. But now we don't necessarily get that unless you're really diverse in how you go after listen to music. If you listen to somebody like me who still plays a diversity of stuff, and other DJs like that are not afraid to play certain records, then you get it. But a lot of DJs, they don't know that you can do that, or they don't think that that's an option for them, and that's kind of screwed up. But play whatever. I don't give a damn what it is. If it moves the crowd and it keeps the audience active and engaged, play it. It could be a rock and roll record. It could be whatever kind of record. Just play it.
Shout out to all the DJs that's here. DJ Fresh, what up? I see you, man. Salute. Shout out to all the DJs and all the content creators that are on here. Pam said something in the comments. She said that she missed record stores. Ralph, do you miss vinyl? Do you miss like the touch and the feel of and that, breaking off the seal and that plastic wrap? Do you miss that process?
I still have vinyl. Like I do my 45 sets, like the small vinyl. I'd still do that, and
you do that, right?
Yeah. And when I got back into it, I was like, I can't believe I'm playing vinyl again. Like I can't believe, because it's expensive. You buying records again, especially stuff that you. I'm like, come on. But I enjoy it. I enjoy touching it. I enjoy hearing it. It sounds different. It's not like something you can manipulate, like just by pushing a button. It's you gotta know you gotta know the record. You gotta play it. Might have to have 2 copies of it. So I enjoy that part of it. And there's a surge of I want to say, like, people say it's hipsters that are buying the vinyl, but I think it's a little bit of everybody that are still buying the vinyl, and some of these independent labels or producers or DJs are putting out vinyl versions, limited copies of of vinyl, put out 300 pieces, and if you got it, you got it, and it becomes like a collector's item. I think Nas put out something off of a King's Disease, and then he collabed it with Supreme, and all of a sudden, because Supreme was part of it, it became a big deal.
I mean, and that's a great point, man, and that segues into my next series of questions, man. And shout out to Nas and Peter over at Mass Appeal. Man, I must have been to Hip Hop 50, the pop-up shop. Like, the first day was, we were there together. And I was really one of the first ones to tag the wall in the basement. So
Rolling Thunder, Rolling Thunder, yeah.
I would share that on my YouTube channel, going to Hip Hop 50, curated by Mass Appeal and Showtime, and of course Ralph McDaniels. And there's 3 documentaries. There's a documentary about graffiti and tagging, and a documentary on Ricky Powell, the great Ricky Powell, photographer. Man, it was a truly an amazing experience, and I gotta shout Nas out, because for him, you know, like Ralph, I'm just gonna keep it a buck, man. You know, and I feel like I face that. I have that same challenge, right? Like, we do so much for the culture of hip hop because we care. You know what I'm saying? It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's not about the notoriety. It's because we care. And with us caring, it's like our offsprings. It's like our babies. It's like we want to nurture it so we can know that it can last forever and it'll be all right out there in the world amongst all the other genres, amongst all the noise that's out there. So for Nas to recognize what contributions you made, I salute Nas for that, man, because it had to take one of us to say, yo, you know what, Ralph is video music box is too important to the culture. I mean, look at all of the other things that video music box had impacted, you know what I'm saying, from the shout out, you know what I'm saying? Like, now that's mainstream America for people to say, shout out to my man, blah, 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 whoopty whoop. Yo, that came from you. That came from your music box.
Yeah. I think it's hip hop. It's and Nas, I think at this stage of his career, wants to celebrate things that he, was important to him as a young person growing up. And I think that, that's why the video music box cosign came about. When he said that he was going to direct it, I said, yo, come on, man, you don't have time to do this. You gotta be kidding me right now. You Nas, And he said, nah. And he was like, nah, it's important. And, because it came out of the blue, it came out of nowhere. And I was like,
what was the first thing that he said to you when he said that he wanted to do this?
He was already executive producing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, okay, kind of juggling around with this whole director thing, who was going to do it. And then Sasha Jenkins called me and said, okay, I got your director. And I was like, okay, who? And he was like, Nasir Jones. I said, what are you talking about? And he's like, hold on, we'll get him on the phone right now. And so Nas gets on the phone and he starts talking. And I'm like, Nas, do you really have time to do this? And he said, yes. And I said, bro, you make me have a little thug tear right now, bro. Don't play around. And he started laughing, right? And he said, nah, absolutely. It's too important to the culture and we have to do this. Just like what you said, we do things that are just important, like no money, we got to do this, whatever it is, and we know the people that will do it. And, and for somebody at the status of Nas, and, for like, I call him my little brother, but he's a big bro too, let's be clear. He's very successful. He does a lot of things. He's super busy, just me being around him on a regular basis, just to watch the amount of work that he does in a short amount of time. I'm like, no, he's busy. I think I'm busy. He's really busy, and he has a lot of things that he's doing. And that's just his business. That's not even his personal life, And so just for him to say, okay, let's talk about this and let's get into this. And, and like, I'm like, Nas, let's go to the Ave in Queens. And he's like, yes, let's go to the Ave. And, and he comes to the Ave with me and we're walking around and he's like, just all of a sudden getting flashbacks of '92, and going down there and getting his gold fronts, and getting a Shirt King fade, sweatshirt or a t-shirt or whatever it was. All of these things that he did he put that into the Video Music Box doc. And, it just, with my content and his love of the culture, it's secured it as #1 doc for Showtime, right now. And like, that wasn't, I don't think that, I mean, I didn't imagine that because I just didn't know yet. I knew it was going to be good, but I wasn't sure. I think we all knew it was going to be good, but we weren't sure. But then it just blows everybody away. And Showtime even, it's like, we didn't know, which it happens. It's corporate. Corporate doesn't really know. They have an idea. Like, they clearly had an idea. The person who greenlit the project is from Jersey City. He knew about Video Music Box. He grew up watching hip hop. He might be in LA because that's where Showtime is at. It's Hollywood.
Right.
But he was like, yeah, I have an idea. But he didn't know that it was going to impact people in a way where people watched it 10 times, that not just Black people who are 50 years old watched it, all people watched it that are 19 and 18 and 17 years old, because they wanted to learn something about hip hop, and it had nothing to do with color. They just wanted to connect the dots and just figure out, how did this happen? How is it possible that Nas and Biggie knew each other? I didn't know that Nas and Biggie were going to put out we're going to be a duo called the Goodfellas.
Right.
That's when we opened up the doc, and Nas breaks it down. Oh yeah, we were going to make, and there may be a record out there. I mean, a recording that Nas and Big did, with the Goodfellas, hook on it. But Nas had to break it down. This was something that wasn't just a freestyle. We were just playing around. No, this was a real project that Nas and Big were working on, and all of those stories, besides one of my things was, when making this doc, was I didn't want it to be like other docs where it's like, oh, we started in the Bronx, and we know that story. Everybody, if you know about hip hop, started in the Bronx, how it got going. I wanted it to be from my perspective, from a Brooklyn side, from a Queens side. Whenever I spoke to, like, I remember having a conversation with DJ Scratch, and I was like, talk about Brooklyn. Like, I know tech scratching dude, but do it from a Brooklyn perspective, because we don't get to hear that side of it, because it was different. When you went to people know when there's a dude from Brooklyn, like, by the way he wears his hat, by the way he wears his shoes, by the way he walks, is different. And the same thing with Queens. It's like, there's nothing like Hollis Avenue back in the 80s, like, there's nothing like it, and I grew up in both of those places. And so I wanted to, celebrate that part of the experience.
Well, I mean, such an amazing job. Kudos to you. Thank you for contributions. Man, it's just refreshing to know that finally now, people are, people know what you've done, but the other people are starting to pay attention to how much assets you have in that time, over the course of hip hop. Like, how do you store that? How do you preserve that? If there's some advice that you could give to a content collector or content creator right now, like, what are some of the things that you would advise them to safeguard their intellectual properties?
I think one of the main things is to be organized. Have your stuff organized. Like, there are DJs that I know from back in the days, they had their vinyl organized, and I wasn't one of those guys. I wasn't that organized. Be organized, and title things correctly. What happened? Like, I have like, man, hours of tapes. Like, one one tape, let's say like a VHS. Remember the VHS tapes back in the day? You can have up to 8 hours on that tape. Okay. You can have like up to 8 hours on these tapes. So just imagine this 8 hours of content.
Are you talking about?
Exactly.
Yo, I got it all.
And there's so much on there. You know, there might be some hip hop performance from some TV show. There might be a boxing match on one of those. There might be, like you say, one of the kung fu flicks.
Right.
You know, there's mad stuff on there. Whatever was popping at that particular time, you use that tape to record it. And so, you know, if you can, you know, like really, you know, just try to write it down or something. Now we're doing it, you know, which is difficult because you still have to go through it. But also what's good about now is that I have people that work with me that are also looking at it from like young people, looking at it in their eyes. So they see what's happening right now in it, where I might not see what they see. I might be like, oh, we was at the tunnel, you know, and a fight broke out that night. And that might be all I get out of that. But they see a whole bunch of other things that I might not see in it. And so that's what, you know, an archivist does. So we have a great team of people that do that right now. And that's awesome. And so, you know, people know who follow me, know we have the Video Music Box collection. And the whole idea of that was to digitize and preserve and then educate through this content and make it available to, you know, higher education spots, to HBCUs, to different, you know, organizations that we can use, that whoever's going to be the next, you know, Ralph McDaniels or the next Rob Love, you know, they can look at these things and remix it however they want to remix it, or just use it as a reference in any way.
Yeah, it's super important, man. I got so much. And see, and that's one of the reasons why I do this Behind the Record show, because in the pandemic, I went into a pandemic and I had to stay home, right? But then when I started looking around the garage and in the attic, I started finding gems. And I'm like, yo, I remember I remember where I was at when this happened. This, you know, this person was around, and this person was like 16 years old, and now they're running a company, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I started finding traces of nostalgia and hip hop history. So I said, well, now I have to tell this story. I have to, you know, along with the footage, I have to paint the picture so people can really understand, and then tie it into what's going on right now, right? Because there's always outliers to things, right? So if there was no Video Music Box, there would be no what was the show BET had? Video Vibration. Video
Vibrations and The Basement with Tigger.
Tigger. Yeah. We wouldn't have none of that stuff, right? And you know, and then, you know, I think DMC said it best in the documentary about MTV, right? So how they try to Video Soul too, Donnie and those guys over there. But you know, they tried to take your blueprint and mask it and make it for the white audience and say, hey, you know, we got TRL.
No. When you watch Video Music Box, I used to watch it, you know, like be home or, you know, be in the office watching it, and I would say to myself, what do white people think when they're watching this? And I'd be saying, they've said it definitely was a black person that put this together. It was definitely, and I just couldn't help myself. It wasn't like I was consciously trying to do it. I couldn't help myself. And Diddy said in the documentary, I wanted to be like Ralph McDaniels, unapologetically black. You know, you know, it's not like that was even, I wasn't conscious of it. I just couldn't help it. You know, and I think that was the appeal even to white people, that it was us in the real. You know, you know, like you know, when you went to a Public Enemy show in the late 80s, it was all white people. And they loved Chuck talking his shit, you know? And, you know, and it was real, you know? It was, you know, it was just, I think that authentic is authentic, regardless of whatever it is that you're talking about. And that's why, you know, people love DMX. People loved, you know, Onyx, you mentioned earlier, you know, Public Enemy, you know, all these artists, you know, authentic is authentic.
Slam, you could throw Onyx Slam on in the middle, you know, and they know what that means, and they know what it, and they react to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Simple and plain, as Chuck D said, mother F him and John Wayne. So here it is, your idols, Elvis and John Wayne, right? This black guy, you know, standing there next to a guy with a clock on his neck, and he's saying this, but it's yeah, and then right along with it. You know what I'm saying? But this is your mama idol. You know what I mean? But that was the power of hip hop, and hip hop was always meant to be unapologetic because it was so real, right? And then if we think about it, even your humble beginnings, Ralph, when you was mixing, matching amps and speakers, you know what I'm saying? You was still doing that on the video side, but they couldn't understand that, right? Because they have what? They have automation. They have new equipment. They have the new technology, the new stuff that come out, right? We couldn't afford that, right? I know people that was playing parties and they only had one turntable, and they would just Jimmy rig it some way to make it play twice. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they
you know what's crazy, Rob, is that there was dudes that worked at labels, right? Some brothers too. And they'd be like, yo, man, you got to get stuff that you know, you got to do what MTV does. And I'm like, bro, do you know how much money MTV has? Like, what are you talking about right now? You know, well, that's how you going to compete, bro. And I'm like, I'm an independent African-American, forget about the African-American part. I'm an independent media company. I don't have Viacom money behind me. All I do is work with whatever I got, you know, and if that's, you know, going out and waiting till 2 o'clock in the morning to interview Jay-Z, or hanging out at some club that Prince is going to, remember Prince used to go to Nell's back in the day. I would be a dude that's with the camera waiting in Nell's for Prince to show up. You know? And, you know, and I know nobody else got this, so when I play it, everybody's going to be hyped. Watch and see. But that's what I had to work with whatever I had. You know, I had to work with whatever I had.
Yo, what was the jankiest camera you had? Because I had the joint. I had the camcorder. I had the camcorder that had two pieces. It had the carry, the box, and it had the piece that you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't know. All I know is that in the beginning, there was a power belt that you used to have to wear. And the belt was like these big batteries. They were huge. And it like literally was weighing you down, like, you know, and then you would plug that into the camera, and that's how the camera got turned on. And you only had like a half an hour on that power. And so you have to have a bag with some more power batteries. And it was, you know, like you had like an hour and a half, three batteries. That was it.
I remember the batteries. They was like big and square, right?
Yeah. And that camera was heavy too. And then you had to have a light with another battery on top of that. So it was just a whole bunch of stuff.
Man, but one thing I do want to say, man, and I want to say this publicly, loud and clear, for people who are in positions, whether it's a tech company, whether it's a record company, whether it's a media outlet, understand your history and your hip hop, and make sure that you do not let people in corporate forget the originators, the visionaries, the Ralph McDaniels, the Rob Loves, the Steve Lobels, the DJ Freshes, the Joe Pauls. Make sure they don't forget us, because we got the keys and we were there, and we know the stories. We were there firsthand, and we even have footage that can back up what we're talking about.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was talking to somebody today, and I was talking about Craig Cowman. So Craig Cowman was a DJ first.
Wow.
He used to Craig Cowman. When I met Craig Cowman at the Tunnel, you remember the Tunnel was, you know, like they have dance music night. You know, they have Friday night, Saturday night. Sunday just happened to be hip hop night, but all the other nights was, you know, whatever, you know, that Bridge and Tunnel crowd.
Right.
And so one day I'm doing video music box, and this guy, Craig Cowman, he's like, I got a record company called Big Beat, and you know, I'd like to talk to you about how music videos work. So I went and I met him at the Tunnel, and I remember clearly. And for those who don't know who Craig Cowman is, what do we Craig is he
Atlantic Records, Atlantic and Warner Bros. Yeah.
He's the chairman?
Yeah.
He's the chairman. Right.
Julie Greenwald. Yep.
Right. So big deal, you know, and
president right now to this day.
Right now. He's and Craig said, "Yo, man, you know," and I remember he had some Chinese food. He was eating some fried rice and chicken wing, and we were sitting on the steps and we talking. I don't know him from nobody, but you know, I just was intrigued by the fact that he asked me to meet him at the Tunnel too. So I was like, all right, I'll meet you over there. And it was in the daytime, like early before it got. Oh, it was like early evening, and we sat there. And he's like, I don't know how does music videos work? I want to make I have a group called what's the girl's name? Got a Love for You. It was a dance group out of Jersey, and he said, I want to make a video, but how much does it cost, and how important is that? You know, like, do people see the videos? And I was like, are you crazy? This is like late 80s now. I'm like, hell yeah, man. You know, you got to make a video, you know? And he was like, you know, like, how do you get it played on MTV? I said, you got to go up there and, you know, and submit it. And there are people that can submit it for you. You pay them and, you know, you go through a process, whatever. So we ended up, you know, doing the video. Jamanda, thank you. I knew Kiara would know that. Jamanda, right. And
thanks,
and we did, yeah. And that was Jamanda, and we did the video for Jamanda. They didn't have any video, and they became, first of all, his first big hit. And then they became, you know, a regular on like shows like whatever that show was that DJ Scribble used to be on, and the dance show. Right. and that was the beginning of Craig Cowman's introduction into music video. And then, you know, later on down the line, I think his big signing was Junior Mafia, when he signed Junior Mafia, because Junior Mafia was on Big Beat. And and then he, you know, I think, you know, he's the chairman now, you know, he's the chairman. But
but that goes back to my point, Ralph, right? That's an outlier, right? So if he wouldn't have asked you if videos were impactful or significant, because in his mindset, he was looking at cost and waste, right? It's going to cost that, and it's going to be a waste, so I'm not going to do it. So I'm not going to pay attention to visuals. We don't need that. We just need the music, right? Tunnel vision. But then a visionary like yourself is like, see, you know, and this is what I say, right? And I forgot where I read this, but, you know, the person that knows how will always have a job, but the person that knows why will always be their boss, right? So you knew the why. He knew the how because he had the machine already. He was records and but he didn't know why he needed video. And when you explained to him why video was impacting, and he saw the results from it,
right?
Now he's gung-ho about videos, right? You know, and you know, and when you say you shot the video, we're talking about you partnering with Lionel Martin and having a video company that actually does videos music videos for artists.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we know back in the golden era, we call it, hip hop, in the early 90s, late 80s, videos can go up to 500,000.
Right. Right. It was we were shooting in film back then. You know,
Wow.
that's why it cost so much back then. You know, and you know, all of those Busta Rhymes and Missy Elliott videos that Hype did. You know, and Hype was my intern, and he went on and I was like, "How are you doing these videos for $1 million? Like, where did that come from? You know, like what just happened?" So yeah.
Wow.
Big up to my girl Mel. My girl Mel. She's from that Atlantic Records era. She was around. Mel, you know, she knows that whole vibe was just. It was just, you know, we had the opportunity to learn, and you know, I mean, Craig is a unique guy. You know, he might have family might have had some money. You know, that might have helped out. You know, that always helps out. You know, like I can remember meeting certain people, like Mark Ronson, and he like bought like every record. One day we were in Rock and Soul, and I watched him spend like $200-300 on records, and I was like, why is he? You know, like these are records that I had already, but he probably didn't have them, and he came to New York and was like, I'm going to buy up all these records. We didn't know that Mark Ronson was going to become Mark Ronson, the DJ. I mean, the producer, and you know but you know, we all don't have that advantage. You know, African American, Latinos, you know, not even a color thing. We all don't have that. You know, some people, yeah, right. Some people will have that advantage, and for those that do have that advantage, just be great, be humble. Don't be, you know, don't feel yourself because you got a little extra. And there are people like myself and Rob and, you know, and Steve LaBelle and others that will help you and show you the way, you know, because we care about the culture. Don't take that for granted, you know. Just
please.
Yeah.
Please. Oh, well said, Ralph. I mean, because, you know, people hit my line all the time. They want help. They want me to listen to their music. They need advice. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it leads me to my next question I want to ask you. This mind is a terrible thing to waste, and I'm not going to waste it. So don't waste my time if you haven't thought through what you really want to ask me, because I care, and I care enough to give you a conscious, unapologetic response. So name your 5 greatest promotions that you've seen in hip hop.
Bad Boy,
the Big Mac,
just the whole Craig Mack Biggie rollout was crazy. Big Pun with Loud Records. Def Jam, Red and Meth. Like I heard, and the Rockefeller rollout. You know, like I was there listening to, you know, guys like Leor say, this is what's gonna happen. And everybody, you know, and Irv, you know, were like, yeah, it's gonna happen. And I was like, and it did. And I watched it happen. You were an integral part of all of that, you know. And it just, and not just in New York, like any city you went to, it was like, you know, we in Miami, the Def Jam buses is, you know, and you like this, like, wait a minute, we in Miami, bro. You know, you in LA. Heavy. Let me see who else. Man. Those if just those couple of moments of that right there, that Def Jam, that Bad Boy, that Loud Records, you know, those were major, major, major. And you were part of it, you know, like you heard Rob say this was going to happen, and then you watched it happen in real time, you know, and you were like, he said that was going to happen, but damn, like it's exactly what he said, you know.
Yo, you know what's so crazy? It like I tell the story. My very first episode of Behind the Records, I had Redman on here. Reggie Noble, Doc's the name. You know what I'm saying? There's two artists, rap artists, that was signed to us at Def Jam that mentioned my name in their records. That's Redman and Ludacris, right? And I'll tell the story about how Reggie was in my office smoking weed, and I got secondhand smoke high, and we was talking about the rollout of his album, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have this guy come off the wall and sign autographs for you and go on tour with you. And he was like, yeah, do that shit. And he didn't realize what I was saying. And he kind of conceptualized that shit, so you don't have to sign autographs. Like there would be a mascot there for him to sign autographs. But then when I created the mascot, it blew everybody away. And people were like, yo, I can't believe I'm seeing what I'm seeing right now. You know what I mean? And
Jack the Rapper in these plays, you're like, come on, man, it was just crazy.
Yeah. I even have some footage of you interviewing Umar on the bus, the media, Def Jam media bus. Early in the stages, you know, Umar was on there. We were all fat farm down. We had the we was promoting HBO and Oz, Sex and the City, and man, just taking that bus all over the country, and then rapping the Shine Phantom. That was another thing that people were like, yo, don't do that shit, man. Yo, this shit gonna be whack, man. Ain't nobody gonna be into that. I was like, what? Yo, this costs $450,000. Ain't nobody got this. I'm gonna make it a promotion.
Yeah. No, I think that was, you know, that was so hip hop. You know, it was so, you know, like, I mean, you know, like you see kids out here now with stupid chains. That's what that was. You know, that was like, you know, just whatever. Pour champagne on the floor. You know, like we don't care. That's all that was. You know, was.
I mean, you know, people didn't know that there was a Rob report, right? And in the Rob report, it was all this things that affluent people have. You know what I'm saying? Like private islands and cars that almost fly and just different things, right? And it was something that, you know, the average person would not be exposed to. So we would take lifestyles of the rich and famous and bring it to the hood.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. No, I used to walk into the parties, and you walk into a party, you know, in the early 90s, mid 90s, and you see Little Kim, and you see Puff and Big and the Wu-Tang and Jay, and you like, we looking beautiful out here, man. Like this is just amazing. You know, just the vibe was so crazy. You know, it was like you was in the south of France somewhere. You know, like where are we right now? You know, but that's what it was. And then you mixed in, you know, the street cats that, you know, was cool. It was something that was, you know, when I look at it, and I remember I just look at footage, and I still do to this day, look at footage, and I could just turn the sound down and just look at it and go like, wow, look at this. Foxy, you know, it was just amazing.
I remember in the documentary, there was a group from Philly, and it tickled me because I didn't know this about Troy Carter. So Troy Carter was in a rap group in Philly, and I saw it in the documentary. That's why I say I keep watching and I keep seeing different things, right? So now it makes sense to me. And I think I have a special something here for you, Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
Find it. But anyway, I was saying that it was, so Troy Carter was on my he was my Philly rep for my Def Jam squad. And then everybody if you don't know, Troy Carter is a mogul. Like, he used to manage Eve. He did all the television shows with Eve. He managed, co-managed Lady Gaga. You know what I'm saying? He's a mogul. This is the guy, and I'm kind of kicking myself with my left foot on the left side of my body right now. This is the guy that told me, yo, Rob, buy some stock in Uber.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
But, he's that guy, man. And I saw him in the documentary, man, and I was on the floor, bro. I was completely on the floor. We have a special guest for you.
Oh,
MC
Hello.
Lyte, Behind the Records.
I didn't even know what that was at first. Oh my goodness.
No, I was waiting for you to get it. What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Oh wow. I'm super happy to see you. And so
Great to see you, Ralph. Rob was over there ticking. Come on, Light, come on and say. And I just got out of something, so I was like, let me get to you guys before you leave. I saw the doc. Fantastic, man. I learned things about you that I didn't even know. Specifically when you come into the business at 16, 17, you think that you're all that matters. So I disregarded you had a whole life before I met you. And to be able to see up close and personal, like what you went through and what you made your mission. I really enjoyed the documentary. So thank you for sharing your story.
Oh wow, you're welcome. And I told Rob earlier, I wanted to tell something from a Brooklyn Queens perspective, because I think that our vision is a little different than others. I think we're unique. We're Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do that because I felt like I owed it to my community where I grew up at in Bed-Stuy, and where I learned about hip hop in Hollis. I owed it to those guys that I was around to tell their perspective, and and just something different, and just get the story of those communities out there as well.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is, like, when we look at Quest show, what is it called? Summer
Madness.
Summer Madness?
Season?
No. Whatever it is, we know what it is. We'll get to it when it comes to us. But in any case, looking at that, and what year did that take place? It was in the late 60s, right?
Yeah, late 60s, early 70s, yeah.
And so taking a look at that and seeing all of our favorite artists as a part of this huge, situation, this celebration, and people brought together for many, various reasons. When I look at your documentary, I feel like I'm a part of something that this generation will look at like, oh my God, I can't believe they knew one another, it's really nostalgic in such a heartwarming way. So I hope everybody that's tuned in gets to check it out.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you saw it. It means a lot that you saw it, and that was the point, was to just not only for us to celebrate what we were doing, but more importantly for young people to see, like you said, like Nas and Biggie actually knew each other. Like,
right.
Like, how is that? How's that possible?
Right.
How Light and Kane knew each other? Like, how is that possible?
When I was watching it, I was like, oh my goodness, I wonder if they're going to tell the story how Nat Robinson paid for us to do 3 videos in one weekend. We did 3 videos in one weekend. I'm Not Having It.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a song with audio too. Not Feeling, of course. It was the Make It Funky. Was it Make It
Funky? Yeah.
Something like that. I can't. But anyway, videos. I don't think we slept.
Nah, and an introduction by Chris Rock in one of those videos.
Yeah. Well, you know, Chris Rock and I used to party at Latin Quarters. You know, we would. You know what? Those days are just so memorable, and they just make me feel good when I think about them. That we all came from that New York City vibe and the beginning of something that has now really taken over everything.
Yeah. You know, you know what's so crazy? Every time I go downtown Brooklyn, I'll be looking for Albee Square Mall.
And it's gone. And it's gone.
Albee Square Mall is is probably a COVID testing spot right now.
Wow.
You have not told a lie. Yeah. Even Latin Quarters, you know, you go past it. I think it's the Sheraton Hotel now.
Yeah.
You know, just
what was the joint on 14th Street?
Union Square.
Yeah, no, Union Square, but what was the joint?
That was the club, Union Square. You're not talking about the hip hop club, Union Square?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
The Mark Ballroom?
There's a Trader Joe's on the bottom, and it's like NY. It's right on 14th, but it's
the Palladium.
Oh, maybe Palladium, yeah.
Palladium, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the Palladium.
I think
that was on 14th Street, right there where Union Square.
There was this fight between Wu-Tang and somebody else that went down there.
Really?
That's all right.
I bet you it's any venue that you can name, we all have a story for it. And you say him, and I think one night it was Kink Easy, Lynn Q, and I was in 92, and we went there to see Onyx perform. And so packed. And when they got on and did that slam, oh my goodness, it set that crowd on fire. It was like, oh my goodness. Those are some good memories, boy.
Do you guys know that the tunnel had a fur room?
A what room?
A fur room.
Oh no. You mean
they had fur on the walls, the ceilings, and the floors. And it was
I never made it to that room.
No.
It was only open on like EDM or like house night.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure, you know, back then those clubs were, you know, there was a whole bunch of things going on in those clubs. So
Studio 54.
Right. I told somebody we grew up in the age where you did not want to see the lights on in a club. You got spit climbing on walls, gum stuck everywhere, and the clubs didn't get nice until Biggie and Puffy came with Luxury. I mean, That's what I recall. There might be some other point in time that someone else can say, no, it happened here. I remember it happening there. Because then you started going to clubs, they had velvet couches and VIP sections. It's like, okay, this is what we do now. All right.
I was talking to this young journalism guy, and he says, can you take me to some of the basements that you guys used to perform at? And I was like, what are you talking about? But he perceived all of these clubs in the 80s as basements. You know?
They look like it. Ooh. Crazy. Always, you know, there was always good times in all of the studios. You know, I had an artist, I needed to get in the studio in New York, and I haven't been there in so long. I had to call somebody. I was like, okay, what studios are people going to, you know, these days? And so many of them have closed, but there are a few that are left open. But, you know, we remember Chung King and, you know, just
Sony. D&D and
Yes, D. Mm-hmm.
legacy videos and oh man.
Yeah, it's a different day.
Well, thank goodness we are still here.
Yeah.
And you know, I tell people, I said, look, a lot of folks I came up with, they not all there. They here, they still here, but they not all there.
Yeah. I mean, it's no wonder. It's like I love this game, but in all angles, you just have to be ready, and the strong survive. You know, case in point with what it is that each of you do, what we all do. It's like we could let the load get heavy and stop at any time, but we choose to keep on because it's what we love. You know, that's what hip hop has done for all of us. And I shouldn't just say hip hop because there's other types of music that, of course, have inspired us all. But when it comes to hip hop, boy, that's the thing that keeps you moving. Yeah, your love for it.
That's right.
Ralph, that, you know, and I appreciate Nas and Peter over at Mass Appeal and the people over at Showtime for doing this, bringing this documentary really to the mainstream, because Ralph doesn't get the awards, the accolades, the flowers that he deserves. And he's so important to the culture because he gave us a mirror for us to look at, to see how beautiful we are as a people, to see how we can enjoy ourselves and have fun and be youthful and have this and have our own soundtrack to our lives with hip hop. And, you know, he doesn't get the calls that he needs to get called from the top brass up in corporate and from Hollywood, from the film industry. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's hard to put a documentary together. I was sure Ralph, look, Howard University 2000 on VH. Ralph, you gotta help me out here, bro.
Hey, look,
it's hard. It ain't easy.
It's hard. You know, we had 3 decades worth of content like that. And, you know, and we were like, okay, where do we start? And, you know, and for me, I was like, all right, look, there are more people in the 90s. So let's focus on the 90s. And then we'll get into, you know, we have to do the 80s because that's our beginning. And so we set up this timeline kind of for Nas and Mass Appeal and just to help them kind of make it move, you know, and they followed the timeline and found in each era, you know, and that's, but, you know, to try to tackle it all, it's a lot, you know, and we just said, look, this is the interesting parts, and I want to get my life because I've always focused on everybody else's life and not my own, and so let me get mom in there, and let me get my brother and my wife, and so people can see from that perspective, because that's important to me in 2022 for the legacy of McDaniels and Video Music Box. And then we'll get into the story of Video Music Box. And that's how we approached it. And Showtime, you know how these big corporate companies are. They like the idea of hip hop, but they really don't know. And, you know, it wasn't until they saw it and saw that it was, you know, like a real story, like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't know that this is what we were getting ready to get. And then they were like, oh, we want more of this. So we look forward to doing more things with Showtime. And you know,
they saw those numbers. They saw those numbers and they said, wow, this is really moving the needle. Right? So Ralph,
and the key is to play your part. You know, you play your position, you know, and where do you fit, you know, into the bottom line sometimes, you know. Like I used to think I think we all thought when we were younger, we were the most important people on the planet. And then you had to realize that sometimes, well, maybe I'm not. So what position do I play? And, you know, and that's how you continue to move forward. And forward motion is the key to everything, you know. Like I can't sit here and dwell about all the stuff I did in the 80s and the 90s and last year or even yesterday. I got to think about what am I doing tomorrow, you know, because that's where we're at, that's where we're going. So I think Light has done an excellent job at just moving forward. Yeah, I know y'all love my songs and all that stuff, but I'm doing this today, and that's why what I love about Light.
Today, I think what it is that you said. Both of you just touched on it. The folks just not knowing, like the movie folks or the SVODs or whatever. And it's really up to the people who they are listening to and looking at to flow that power back to somebody that is deserving of having the floor and showing what it is that they have. So that, I think it's important that we do that, because you're right. It's the folks in Hollywood, folks in music, it's together, but then it's so far apart. And then when you talk about executives, yeah, they are not walking on the ground like us. They're not in the midst of it all happening. So they're relying on people to bring them what's hot, what's fresh. And it's up to those people to take that risk, and say, hey, this is what's happening over here. Ralph McDaniel Video Music Box changed the culture of music, the community forever. This needs to be told. This story needs to be told. And so I'm glad for the opportunity, and I'm excited for whatever's coming next. I think what you showed was probably like a nice, mixture of everything over the years. However, now you can go in.
Right. Yeah, I think that I think Bugsy from WBLS here in New York said, look, there's like 5 documentaries within that documentary.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Shout out to Bugsy in the chat. Bugsy. Lynn Scott, what's up? I see you.
Welcome
Behind the Records. This is a special surprise treat for Ralph McDaniels. He deserved treats and all the accolades. Shout out to DJ Wiz. I see you out there. All the DJs, all the content creators, everybody that's here. Appreciate you being here. This is very, very special moment. And congratulations to you too, MC Lyte, for getting the rights to your name and having that, be memorialized in that ownership. You know what I'm saying? It's your name, you deserve it, and I'm glad you got it. And the important part of this is when we out there creating, make sure you own what you create.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's crazy is, I guess because of my excitement when I shot the video about it, that it became like a huge deal. And I'm not sure which part was the most impactful for everyone, that I had actually gotten the name or that I didn't have the name all these years. Because really, no one in music, if you're signed to a major record label, really owns your name. Now, right. I learned that, do it. Thank you, Rob, for hooking me up with Mr. Levert yesterday. I just learned OJs actually had their name before they got signed to the record label, which is really rare. And so, I got into business at 16. I'm sure there are a whole slew of artists who do not own their name. And I don't even think they know or care. I just happen to want it. So, and I think it's important for those up and comers that are starting in the business. Yes, if you can trademark that name, your business, whatever, because you can have a business in New York with a name, and somebody in LA can open up the same business if you don't take care of your trademarking properly. So, it's been quite a journey. Let me just say that. And all through it, I've learned some really valuable lessons. I've met some incredible people, and I've started some great relationships. And so this is the world of entertainment. You just named Lynn Scott and Bugsy, and you know, it's just
so many great people who are in the that are in the audience right now. And there's, you know, there's a question for you, like how was the how would you describe your transition from rapping to voiceovers and being you know, on the writing side of content now in film and television?
well, the transition, you just have to remain steadfast. And so with the voiceover, I decided to go get some voiceover lessons. What I really didn't want to do is show up thinking, you know, that I deserve something without having the backing behind it, without having the skill set or the know-how. And so same thing with acting. I went and took acting classes. I was in acting school here for 2 years when I first moved to Los Angeles. And then I took a whole bunch of other classes as well. But the point of the matter is, in preparation of the transition, I got myself together and learned all that I could before trying to enter into that world, which I think is not only showing self-respect, because I don't want to go anywhere showing up ignorant in a space where I didn't have to be, but also respect for those who are doing it, for those who are, you know, auditioning you, for those you have to act with, for directors that have done this all their life, and now here you come, you better be bringing the best of what it is that you have. So the transition was a little, you know, of course, people know me as MC Lyte. So they want to, you know, that's what she is. She's a rapper. But, you know, I never let that stop me. It's like, okay, I want to DJ. Yeah, I love music. Why can't I do that? Why can't I curate a playlist for somebody? Okay, I want to be a music supervisor. Let me go into that world and see what it is that I can learn, what it is that I can give and be of service. And all of it is just me being inspired by all of what it is that I do, looking to inspire others by doing it. So, yeah.
So, like, we love you. We know that's impossible for you to be as successful as you are on your own. Can you please shout your team? And Ralph, I would like for you to also shout out your team, from Crazy Sam to your brother. You know what I'm saying? Just let everybody know, you know, the who's your team that holds you down and keep you grounded to, you know, for you to be focused to create those trajectories. Light first.
Okay, yeah, I'll be quick with it. Lynn Richardson, Dr. Lynn Richardson, that's my COO. She's also a pastor. There's Warren Campbell, who's actually my pastor of the church that I attend, my minister. My mom, there's Dr. T, there's Laura Palace and Nick Rose. It's a bunch of people that believe in my dream and help to push me along. And, you know, this is my third management team that I'm with. And I did about 12 years with Nat Robinson, who we speak regularly, 12 years with Fred Crawford. We also speak regularly. It's just, you know, you have this journey and it's up to you to coordinate with a team that is going to be able to push, pull, tell you when you ain't right, tell you when your doo-doo stinks, you know, and help to elevate you, not just in this business, but holistically as a person, as a spiritual being, keeping your emotional existence intact. So I want to thank all of those people for being a part of my life and helping to push me to a level of excellence.
Well, amen to that, and a super applause. To you and your team.
I love it.
I'm hilarious sometimes. I crack myself up sometimes.
You should.
Hey, that was so Brooklyn. That was so Brooklyn.
Well, I'm about to go get me some food. Ralph, I love you. Thank you so much for being.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
Thank you for taking some time and checking in. I appreciate that. You know, when I first started Video Music Box, you know, like people say, oh, you know, McLyte is a friend of the show. Like they say that kind of stuff now. She was a friend of the show. So that was important to have, you know, a light video playing when we first started, and, you know, and all the other artists that were coming out in those early days, because there was only a handful of hip hop videos at that particular time. And so that was important when we had your face and your energy. And I'm sure it was important to all the young girls and just people that loved hip hop in general.
Right. And I want to say all the videos you shot. Big up to Lionel C. Martin for making those directorial choices that made us shine. So and Tuffy, all the classic teams.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Rob, thank you for this invitation so I can show my brother Ralph some love. God bless y'all. I'm going to see y'all on the circle.
Salute.
Yeah, salute McLyte. And I would be remiss if I didn't do it like this. I'm sorry. Whew.
That was great, man. That was a surprise, bro.
Surprise, right?
Yeah, that was a real surprise. I was like, oh wow. I was like, is that McLyte? Like, I'm like, what? Wait, that's the rock. There you go. You know what's crazy about that? You know what's crazy about that song, Rob? Is that there was two different versions that Nat Robinson and you know, First Priority wanted to put out. There was that house version,
right?
And then there was, you know, the radio version of it. And so they had the insight to know that house music was popping at that time, and you know, like they needed to do a video mix for each one of those versions. So that was not everybody could have the vision of that back in the days.
See, that's what we were just talking about, right? So there's outliers. So there's things that happen that was transitioning hip hop and bringing hip hop to a bigger audience, because now it's starting to reach the palates of people who are into the dance scene.
Yeah.
And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't touch a little bit of this.
I just got,
Whoa, come on, let's go.
When you say you love me, it doesn't matter. It goes into my head as just chit chatter. You may think it's egotistical or just very free, but what you say, I take none of it seriously. And even if I did, I wouldn't tell you so. I'd let you pretend to read me, and then you know, because I hate when one attempts to analyze black eyes eyes. Don't even try to look into my eyes to see what I am thinking. That dream is over. You gotta say it. I tell all of you like I told all of them. What you say to me is just paper dead word.
Yo.
I gotta big up Big Said in that video.
Yeah. Oh yes, my twin brother. Said be having a great patch like me in his head. You know what I'm saying?
and Do Nice has a cameo in that video as well.
Nice, yeah. Yo, there's quite a few people in here now. Yo, look at Rich Nat. I mean, Big Said had the flat top with the
Yes. Yeah. In fact, MC Search is in that video as well. That was right before we started working with Third Base.
Hold on, wait a minute, man. I just noticed something too, right? So McLyte is rhyming with headphones on.
What was that? Right. Before the Apple, you know.
Yo, headphones had wires, right? Back then,
right.
Headphones had the wire. She had the just the headphones. But that was more of a style thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What up, Carl? Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, so let's get back to your team, man. So this is a moment where we acknowledge the people that helped you chart your course on your journey.
Yeah, no, I got to big up, of course, my wife Evelyn, who's through all the whole journey, she's there. They're there listening to you bug out about something that happened that means nothing, but just getting you through it. And also, she runs the Video Music Box collection right now. To my daughter, who's my producer, and make sure that I'm set up right now. And these are all, this is all like in the last few years that we've established this, that let's keep the team in house, and let's make sure that the fam knows and understands exactly what it is that what I do. Not like like back in the days, you used to just go out and you'd be gone for days and you'd come back, and you did something. Now it's like you got all kinds of setups for Zoom and all kind of stuff in the house, and it's all over the place. I got a setup for where I do my live mixing, a setup for this. It's a you kind of take over the house. So thank you for allowing me to do all of that kind of stuff. And then of course the original Video Music Box crew, my partner Lionel C. Martin, Tuffy, Cheryl Questel, Tuffy's sister, who's introduced me to Crazy Sam and to all these different people. Jadana, who's still, spiritually part of my team. Big Beast, still part of the team. So many, folks that we work with, that are still around, that are still, involved, hands-on. My brother Brian, because, Brian was going to school down in Atlanta, and like he was bringing me like, Common's demo, and things like that. He was at what you call him? I can't remember the school right now, but
Morehouse.
Morehouse. And so he was running to all these cats that were coming out of down there in Atlanta. That's how I met Shaka, Shaka Zulu, and and him and Shaka did a show together, like a local video show down there. And so all of those relationships, continue. Shaka's sister was part of X Clan, and I did all the X Clan videos, so all of these relationships were all tied together in some way. And that was the great thing about hip hop in that particular time, is that, I think it's still like that now to an extent. I remember KRS-One, we were talking one day and we were like, there's only like 500 people. Back in the days, there was only like maybe 500 people that were really what hip hop was all about. And he said there might still only be 500 people that are part of what hip hop is really still about right now. And I was like, I hear that. So it's a tight knit crew. You know who you are, and it doesn't matter what city, it doesn't matter what kind of music. In the documentary, it was so important for me to have Luke, because when I met Luke, and I talked to Luke and I saw what he was doing on the independent side in Miami, but his records weren't playing on the radio. They were just playing in the clubs and, skating rings and in the clubs and in the parties and jams and cars and mixtapes. But myself and Red Alert started playing, I started playing the videos here in New York, and Red started playing, the records on the radio and in the clubs. And that's how Luke blew up, because you came to New York because New York was the media capital. You could get noticed by, a local ABC national, NBC national, or MTV, or whatever it is, because all of those things started in New York. New York was the mecca for all that. So, I don't care where you're from. If it was from Compton with NWA and, and Dre and Cube and them, they all came here. My brother E40, all these cats out of the Bay Area, everybody came to New York because New York was where it was popping. And back then, you know, you could really get a spark in New York, and that's why we showed so much love to artists from just all over the country. And then we started traveling places, and we started learning about the local scene and that there were other artists that were coming out of those areas that were hot, you know, and that's what hip hop is all about. You know, it's a local thing, but it's international.
It's definitely global. And hip hop influence, you know, the world really. I mean, I remember going to Japan and, you know, meeting people over there that didn't know English, but they could rhyme, you know, a Wu-Tang record or a Mobb Deep record. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but in English. But I'm like, but you can't understand what I'm saying to you, but you can, if I was to speak to you in bars of rap songs, then I can communicate with you.
Ironically, right.
Like that's truly amazing to me that can happen. So applaud you and your team and Ray DeJean and Ron Lawrence as well. Applaud. And shout out to my partner Dal Brooks. Dal Brooks, I see you in the car.
Dal Brooks, man.
I appreciate you.
Dal been holding us down, but we didn't even know what to do. So yeah, big up to Kev Lawrence. Big up to DJ Stokes, Ray, you know, so many people, Deborah Coco, so many people part of what we do.
So what are you doing right now? What's your schedule now? I know that you're doing a lot of press, you know, because of the documentary. And I know you still do your lives, and you're active. But like, what is like the primary focus right now for Ralph McDaniels in Video Music Box?
Well, I still work with Queens Library, and Queens Library is like my 9-to-5 job, you know. And throughout all of this, you know, and in making the documentary, I had to figure out how to juggle that around what I do. I program 65 to 65 different buildings in Queens, 65 different libraries. So, you know, we create, you know, some things are just easy, like, you know, how to DJ 101, or some are book signings with, you know, Damon John from Shark Tank, or, you know, celebrating Women's History Month, or celebrating Black History Month next week. Right now, we currently have an exhibit done by Andre Leroy Davis, who, if people know, in the back page of The Source used to be the caricatures, and Andre Leroy Davis was the guy who drew those caricatures. So we have an exhibit in the Jamaica branch that he created called 17, The Revolution Will Be Visualized. And he chose 17 different artists to do an art exhibit. And so it's been in Queens Library since for like about 2 months now. So this is the last weekend of it. If you want to go see it, it's on Jamaica. It's called Central Library, the one in Jamaica. And you can go there and you see this awesome art exhibit that he curated. And that's the kind of stuff that we do. You know, you could just walk in to a cool space. The thing I love about the library, especially for teens, and teens need a space, you know, to just kind of chill sometimes, is that it's a safe space. They can go in there, they can do their homework, or they could just sit and do nothing, and or talk to girls, you know, and just for 2 or 3 hours, just relax before they have to go home. Because sometimes, you know, where these kids got to go is not the greatest place. You know, their home situation might not be great. You know, their block might be gang related. You know, they don't want to be involved in that, so they're trying to navigate through that. So we try to give them a safe location where they can sit down and just chill out, and, you know, and then whenever they decide to head on back to the crib, they head on back. But that's the cool thing about libraries. I think over the years too, you know, even when I was going to libraries, you know, we used to be like, let's just go in there and sit down, and, you know, that's when the 5%ers used to build.
Right.
You know, like, yo, what's the mathematics, brother? You know, what's today's mathematics? You know,
Right.
and that was, you know, and but it's always been that kind of vibe. But you know, libraries are different now. You know, it's not like you're quiet and be shh, no noise. It's not like that, and at least in Queens, it's not like that. But like big up to DJ Wiz. He does a DJ 101 thing for us out there in East Elmhurst, and where he grew up at. And yeah, Cypher in Queens. Yeah, big up to Sherwin, the artist. He did the LL Cool J bus that's out in Flushing Meadow Park right now. But he
The
also
one
did this.
oh, it right. I saw that.
Yeah, yeah.
Shout out,
Heavy,
man, because LL is another person, man, that cares.
yeah.
You know, like you know, I seen that he, you know, he went to visit Kango Kid, like on his, you know, very last days, and shout out to Kango Kid from UTFO, and rest in peace Jesse D from the Force Indies.
Yeah.
By the way, services are coming up on the 21st in Staten Island.
Yeah.
But
Jesse, you know, Jesse was such a talent, you know, and Jesse, I used to see him in Times Square. You know, like everybody used to want to be Michael Jackson, and everybody would, you know, do the Michael Jackson routines in Times Square. And Jesse was one of those guys, you know, because he was the elder out of the Force MDs, and you know, before they had, you know, records out, that's what you used to do. You know, that you could make a couple of dollars or get some kind of, people would recognize you out there in Times Square performance, you know, and so many artists did that.
Yeah. So on January 27th, I'm gonna be doing that's the Thursday after next. I'm gonna be doing the first Behind the Records live at Toad's Place in New Haven, Connecticut.
That's a cool spot.
I'm going to have on live the program director from the radio station up there, DJ Buck. On the Wheels of Steels is going to be DJ Craig G. And we're going to have a special performance by AZ and Cormega, half of the firm. And you never know who may show up. So go get your tickets. Go to www.etix.com and get your tickets. Amir, if you're in here, please post it. Please pin it. I mean, post it so I can pin it, the ticket link to the show, or DJ Fresh, please. But Ralph, I really appreciate your time. I know time is something that we can't get back, so we got to spend it wisely. And I think that this has been an amazing use of our time, because not only we are great friends and brothers, and we love and we care about hip hop and the culture. And one of the most significant game-changing movies you were also involved with, which is Juice. And you know, and Roxanne, like, you know, what can we expect more things like that to come in the future from you, Ralph? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
No
we're
one
working on
our story better than you can.
Yeah, no, we're working on something real special right now. And it's too early for me to talk about. Like, I didn't even talk about, you know, you're watching Video Music Box too. It was just about the drop, you know? And I think that's we got to do that sometime, because, you know, we got to protect our energy, you know?
Say that again, brother. Say that again.
We got to protect our energy, man. You know, because I knew that, you know, you're watching Video Music Box was coming, but unless you were around me and might have saw me post a little something, or were really like on my live, and I said, yo, we're getting ready to do this, and you heard me say it, you didn't really know. And, you know, and so because people jack your stuff so easily right now because of social media and what have you, and I probably were doing it before, but now it's just more obvious. Protect it. Don't talk about it till you're about to put it out. You know? Do not talk about it till you're about to put it out.
So you got it copywritten. You know what I'm saying? Even in just casual conversations, because I'm telling you, the closest person next to you will copyright your shit. Right next to you. And you be like, damn, this is taken. It's taken already.
Right.
Yeah, it's taken by your man right there. You know? And if you want it back, it might cost you $75,000. Whatever he might feel that you owe him for the beer and shit and the chicken wings. He charge you for it. So guys, the link is right there, pinned in the live. You come to see Behind the Records live, January 27th. AZ, Cormega, DJ Buck, Craig G, at that link right there, www.etix.com. Get your tickets. Get your tickets now. Now, the last question I want to ask you, Uncle Ralph, is what do you see for the future of hip hop?
I think it's in a good place. You know, I think it's gonna be fine. There's a bunch of, you know, new artists out there that can carry it. There's new sounds. You know, I like the idea that the sounds change. I'm not mad at it. You know, certain things I can't relate to just because I can't. But I think I hear things, because for me, it goes back to sound, like how I started plugging into the light. And so when I hear certain sounds that sound good in my ear, because hip hop started out with the DJ before there was an MC. So it really didn't matter what they were saying. It mattered on what the music made your body do. And I think that the technology, we've mastered it. We're starting to master it. In the beginning, you could tell we just were starting to learn it, and because everything sounded the same. Now, you know, like when I started hearing like the Baby and the music that he was putting, I was like, man, sonically, this is incredible. Travis Scott, sonically, this is crazy, you know. And then the lyrics from guys like J. Cole and, you know, and you know, Travis, and, you know, I mean, Travis has been around for a while, but, you know, some of these guys have been around for a minute. But, you know, it's going there. It's there. It's going to be all right.
So do you think the metaverse is going to have a place for a video music box?
Absolutely. Absolutely. we might start out like as a little bodega, but we're going to build up. Yeah. We'll be there.
I love that, man. So the last question is probably the toughest one, is if you had a Mount Rushmore of hip hop, who would be on there? Top 5, dead or alive.
Oh. All right, so I'm always Rakim. I'm Rakim, you know, all the time. I'm gonna say Rakim, Big, Nas, Cube, and Pac today.
Woo!
Nobody got left out.
Woo! Well, we said 5, so you know what I'm saying.
But you know, I change it. You know, tomorrow it might be another 5.
Well, Ralph, it's only fitting that we close this with how you started Video Music Box. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on Behind the Records. You're a great studio artist. You are my record makers. We are here celebrating the life, the journey, the trajectory from intern to game changer. Uncle Ralph, our favorite uncle, Ralph McDaniels, Video Music Box, baby. Word up. Don't forget to follow Behind the Records. Don't forget to follow Uncle Ralph, Video Music Box. Don't forget to. Okay. Don't forget to get your tickets for January 22nd. Behind the Records Live, coming to New Haven, Connecticut, Toast Place. And we're gonna give shout outs like we do on Video Music Box.
That's right.
Welcome to Behind the Records Music Box. I'm your host, Ralph McLove. No, I said Love McDaniels. Shout out to, thanks for the follow. Let's see who here. Skin Color Lyrics, what up? Thanks for the follow. Big Les, what up, Big Les? Melody Wins, what up? Shout out to the Real Bricks. Shout out to the Real DJ Wiz, what up, Wiz? Oh man, shout out to Lonnie Cherie, shout out to Gabby and 3D, shout out to The City's Great. Oh my God, this is amazing, man. I'm going a little too fast, man. You know what I'm saying? I got senior eyesight. Thank you for the follow. King David, what up, Brooklyn? Nelson Martinez, what up? Ani Records, what up? Shout out to Queen Deneen, Lynn Scott, what up? Thank you for all the follows, baby. Thank you for the follows. How am I doing, Ralph?
Hey, look, man. You're pretty good. You're pretty good, Rob. You're pretty good.
Queen Deneen, what up, Queen Deneen? Shout out to Godmother of Hip Hop. Word. Shout out to all the lovers of hip hop, man. Shout out to Norfolk State University family on here.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tony Rashad. I see you, Daddy. Oh.
Yes, sir. I saw Windows of Hip Hop. Big up to Windows of Hip Hop.
All right, man. Wow, that was amazing, man. Whew. Thank you,
Rob. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. That was great. You know, I'm just coming off of COVID, so this is the first interview I did after not having COVID. After having COVID, and so I was like, can I do an interview? But I feel good.
Yo, well, not quiet as it's kept because it's publicly known. I just dodged 19 myself. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And I don't even call it COVID no more. I can't give it its full name. I'm just gonna call it 19, right? So we gotta avoid 12 and 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? To all my cats on the street, you know what 12 means, and you know what 19 means. Avoid 12 and 19.
Yes.
And if you play the numbers, you better play that number, 12, 19. He might hit. Give me my cut, too.
Box it.
Yo, look, straight or in the box. My number come out, you better pay me. Yo, Ralph, thank you, man. I could do this all night. It feels good. We have to do a part 2, man, when we feel a whole lot better than 12-19. Wow, December 19th, right? Wow. I don't know where I'll get this from, but it comes to me, so I'll take it. But Ralph, man, it's an honor. I salute you, brother. You know.
Thank you, bro. Hey, everybody have a good night. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the follows. Thank you for your time. You could be anywhere else, and you decide to be here with us. See you next week behind the back. Because actually, and get well wishes to DJ K Slay. I hear that he's doing better. And Kid Capri is, he's saying he's back, and I'm glad that he's feeling better. Mixmaster Ice, Doc Ice, man. Anybody that's that's going through this Omicron virus thing, peace and blessing to you. Stay safe, stay masked up, wash your hands, take your elderberry, take your sea moss, take your zinc, drink lots of fluids, cut out the meat in your diet, stay plant-based. Have a good night. Get some well rest. And Allison Williams too. Thank you, Deneen. Allison Williams. Please, thoughts and prayers for anybody that's going through this, man. Ralph, I salute you for life. Hip hop is in your blood, and you know, care about hip hop and the Universal Hip Hop. And shout out to the Universal Hip Hop Museum too, man. I got a special announcement that's gonna that I'm gonna make shortly about the Universal Hip Hop Museum, and I'm honored. So that's all I can say. Peace and blessings. Have a good night. See you next week.